I love all the energy in the room, but could I have your attention, please? Please continue eating, but to be able to get you out of here by 1 o'clock, we need to get started. So thank you so much for joining us for the 12th Annual Portraits of Courage Luncheon. I'm Mary Jo Powers, President and CEO of Thompson, and it is my great honor to be with you today and to be able to share with you some of the exciting work that we're doing at Thompson. I began my career over 30 years ago as a residential counselor in girls' crisis care. And actually, my very first boss is here today, and I was excited to see her before this started. And, you know, I've lost count of the number of children and families that have been served over the last 30 plus years. But I've never lost sight of a dream that I have. And that dream is to see an end to childhood abuse and neglect. Not to just see it reduced, but to end it. Think about what an amazing world this would be if all of the dollars that we spend presently helping children heal from avoidable traumas could be spent on helping those same children to flourish. So when people ask me what my vision is for Thompson, I share with them that dream. And many of you in this room join with me in that dream. Our dedicated board and staff stand with me. But where would we begin? How would we do that? The first thing we'd need to do at Thompson is to change the way we do business. Presently, 78% of our expenses go towards intervention services, and only 22% go towards prevention services. So we would need to reverse that trend. But we would need help with that, and we would need our funding partners, foundations, corporations, state, federal, and local funders to change the way that they fund services. But sadly, that's not the way it is. And so we depend very heavily on private investors like you and me to fund our prevention work. As a matter of fact, next year, we have budgeted over $1 million to fund prevention services coming from dollars that individuals like you give us. And you may say, that's a lot of money. Why would you do that? It's very simple. Last year alone in Mecklenburg County, there were almost 14,000 reports of abuse and neglect. Every single day in this country, 4 children lose their life due to abuse and neglect. And the majority of those children are under the age of 4. We have got to stop the madness. Fortunately, there is a trend right now that has been started on the federal level that is really looking at the importance of an early childhood experience and how that affects the person that a child becomes. In North Carolina, that has got the name of the first 2,000 days. And I would advise all of you to check it out because it's got some amazing statistics. But what it's about is the first 2,000 days of a child's life and how important that is in molding who that child will become. One of the statistics that just jumped off the page at me was the fact that an at-risk child that does not receive a quality early child care experience is 5 times more likely to be a chronic criminal offender by the age of 27 than a child that receives quality child care. And yet, the North Carolina General Assembly has allocated $1.38 billion towards the Division of Corrections and only $266 million towards the Division of Child Development. What if we reversed that trend? What if those dollars were going towards making a difference when it was earlier? I want to share 2 stories with you that I hope will illustrate what I'm talking about. The first story is the story of Malachi. Malachi came to the Child Development Center when he was 3 years old. He had already been kicked out of 2 other child development centers because of his behavior. His mother shared with the staff that his behavior was so bad at home that she was losing her patience with him and she was afraid she was going to hurt him. As the staff worked with this family, they found that their home environment was very chaotic. Malachi's parents' marriage was in trouble, and they were fighting regularly. And Malachi's mother shared that there were times that she would wake Malachi up in the middle of the night to flee the house. The staff worked with this family on the importance of routines and schedules and the importance of making Malachi a priority in their lives. And Malachi began to flourish. Sadly, Malachi's parents' marriage did not survive, but both of them became invested in his future. And when he graduated from the Child Development Center a few years later, both of his parents were present to cheer on his victory and to cheer for his future. What if Thompson had not been there for Malachi and his family? Could his story have been different? Could his story have been more like Joseph's? Joseph came to St. Peter's Lane Psychiatric Residential Treatment Facility at the age of 10. His parents' parental rights had been terminated when he was only 6 because of severe abuse. Prior to coming to Thompson, Joseph had been in 10 foster homes and had been hospitalized 4 times. Needless to say, Joseph didn't trust. And needless to say, he had rage. And when that rage would come out, it would last for hours, and he would strike out against anyone that came near him. But the staff on St. Peter's Lane do what they do so well. They provided Joseph with a safe, secure, structured, therapeutic environment in which he could heal. And Joseph began to make progress. But after only 6 short weeks at St. Peter's Lane, the MCO that authorized Joseph to be in our care decided he had made enough progress that they were going to step him down to a therapeutic foster home. The Thompson clinical team appealed this, but their appeals were denied. And so when his therapist came to him to tell him that he was going to get to go to a foster home, Joseph immediately began to sob. And he grabbed the hand of his therapist and he said, "I don't want to leave. They're going to have to pry my hand out of yours to take me." What if Thompson had longer with Joseph? What if Thompson had had Joseph when he was younger? Could we have changed this outcome? I don't know the answer to all the what ifs, and we could ask a lot of questions. But what I do know is that Thompson holds tightly to its mission, called to serve through healing, teaching, worship, and play. And we hold tightly to the Josephs and the Malachis that come into our care. But we can't do it alone. We need you to help us. And so won't you take our hand today? Won't you help us hold on to that mission, hold on to that dream, and hold on to the Josephs and Malachis that come into our care? Thank you. It is now my great honor to introduce to you Ms. Rosa Underwood, our Chief Program Officer for Prevention Services, who is going to introduce our Portrait of Courage video this year. Rosa?
Thank you, Mary Jo. Good afternoon, everybody. And thank you for joining us this afternoon. 6 years ago, we began a journey towards understanding what parent education services meant. It was a small group of us. We didn't know much about parenting education, but what we knew was that we had been parented. We were a group who were raised by some of us a mom and a dad, some of us an uncle and a mother, some of us a grandmother, some who were adopted. We were a small group, but every week we would sit and talk about growing up, what we would change if we could, what could we offer to parent education services as we already know them to exist. I think we all came away being grateful for the childhoods that we had and for the parents that we had or the way that we were raised. But more importantly, what we knew was that things had to change in our county, that there were so many families worth saving, and that you could not do that in 6 weeks. 6 years ago, that's all that it took to be reunited with your family if your child had been taken 6 weeks in a parent education class. And you would get checked off and you would be okay, and then probably back again. We began looking into evidence-based programs that would really make a difference and came up with quite a few. 6 years later, we have served countless families. Last year alone, we've had 600 families come through our parent and education programs. Today, I'm going to introduce a video to you, and this is the video that tells the story that I did not want you to see. We have been so protective of the families that come before us. And we weren't sure how the public would treat them. We didn't want them to feel exploited. We wanted to preserve the reasons why they came to us in the first place. So we didn't really want to share. Problem with that is, how do we get people to understand the incredible work that we're doing if we're holding it so close? This year, you will be invited to meet and to see a parent education class from a group of women, and a man, families from our new community of Greer Heights. They came to us willingly. You'll hear their story. Now, when I saw the video last week for the first time, I was reminded why I didn't want you to see this. It's because it was my story. I didn't want people to hear about just violence or poverty, or to assume that all families that came from particular environments would always stay there or didn't know how to go after anything any better. What I also saw in the video was that as parents, we're so afraid for our children. We want to protect them from violence. We want to keep them safe. Every year from the time that my children were 5 years old until they were 16 years old, they would go off to my parents' house in New York, of all places, to be raised for the summer, because I knew that my mom and dad could keep them safe. I also knew that the house that I lived in, the windows were painted, and they were painted shut. They were painted shut so that no one could break in and steal or attack us. We grew up at a time in Boston at the height of gang activity, where it was very familiar for us to see a crime tape scene, active police scenes, for police to use certain houses for surveillance. This was a way of life. So as I was hesitant initially about having the beautiful neighborhood of Greer Heights on film, I realized after seeing it that those families that we love and we work with live there and share the same fears and the same concerns and the same wants and the same desires for their children that all of us want. And as I know what's happened to myself and my children, I know that for the families you'll be invited to see today, that there is so much of a bright future for them. So without further ado, I'm going to show you this wonderful video.
The Greer Heights community isn't the safest neighborhood. It has a high crime rate. So I do hear the parents discussing illegal activities that may have taken place in their parking lot. There was a gunfight, a shooting, and kids were out there playing, and the kids had to run, and people in their homes had to duck down on the floor.
Our apartment was actually shot, and we woke up to pulling our kids off the couch because we heard gunfire and bullets hitting the house.
One of my biggest concerns in the neighborhood is just the violence. Because sometimes now we have had days where you be afraid to let your child out the door because you thinking they're gonna get hit by a stray bullet.
When you're walking to the store with your 6-year-old daughter and she literally has to run, we have to turn and run home, and she tells you, "Mommy, I saw the fire coming from the gun." Or every time they hear firecrackers, your daughter is running and scared and crying, it becomes a problem.
Most of them do not have jobs, so they are seeking employment to maintain a stable income, to be able to provide for their children.
A lot of them are single parents, and so they have to do all this on their own.
They have encountered a lot of stressors and challenges every day in their lives, including having their children taken away in some instances and trying to get them back.
Regardless if you come from a high socioeconomic class or a low socioeconomic class, parents want the best for their children.
I think that if anything ever happened to any one of my kids, I would stop breathing. I would literally go crazy. I know my kids are my life.
I think the young mothers, the single mothers, have a lot to offer the community. But these are young people that did not finish school, that did not go to college. They're learning their ways. They are children raising children, and they don't know how to. And Thompson came into the neighborhood, so if they want the help, it's right here. Just walk out of your door. Somebody there wants to help you.
We will call this place our home.
Thompson's parent education program is an evidence-based program which is called The Incredible Years. It's a 16-week program, and its goal is to help parents learn to build a positive, solid foundation with their children.
We'll tell our stories on these walls.
When parents walk through our door here at Thompson, they're automatically family. And I think most parents coming into our parent education classes, they want another way of parenting, but have not been given an option or a reason to learn another way.
Every parent that's come through that door has always acknowledged love for their children. They might be agitated and they may not know how to demonstrate that love, but they will articulate the love and always want a chance. And what our classes do are provide them with tools and techniques. It's not so much what do you know about parenting as much as it is what are you willing to learn that might be different.
Let the years we're here be kind, be kind. Let our hearts like doors open wide.
It does have the power to change the next generation of parenting within their family.
The moms, the dads, the grandparents, the guardians, they are carrying forth the banner of strong families in every community. We need them, we depend on them. They're champions.
Thompson is going to make a difference in this neighborhood, and I think you will see. You're going to be proud of these people.
The dirt in which our roots may grow, and the right to call it home.
The parenting class has been an experience, a wonderful experience, and not an experience that I expected, but it's been a learning experience. It's been a growing experience. It gives you a greater respect for yourself and other people.
It's just certain little stuff you think that wouldn't matter. It matters. It makes a difference. Now I know that.
So now we done graduated ourselves from what we used to be and what we have become.
Coming somewhere like this and going through a program like this, it opens a lot of new doors for you, and like even after it's over, I know I'm not gonna forget.
We got together and we shared our secrets, we shared our pain, we shared our tears, and now it has changed my life forever.
They help us become more of who we are, like help us tap into what we already had in us. It's one thing when you believe in yourself, but it's better when people believe in you, that you can be more, that you can become more.
You and me, we both got sins, and I don't care about where you've been. Don't be sad and don't explain. This is where we start again.
I love my families. They have really made a difference in my life. As much as I help them, they have helped me.
It's a beautiful journey watching parents change and in turn their family units changing as a whole.
It's such a strong and positive reaction that you can't help but believe a change is really happening.
I've heard this from some of those parents. Let me tell you where we're going. Let me tell you what we're learning. I tell you, it's changing their lives. And that's what it's all about.
We had, and they will be represented in word by Miss Michelle. Thank you. Where is Rita Crawford? She right there. She want to come up? Okay.
Hi, my name is Rosalind Hayward, but everyone calls me Shell. The group has voted me to be the spokesperson and to let you know how much we love our time at the Family Education Center. We are learning so much, and what we are learning is helping us to become better parents and better supports of each other. We are now sharing what we have learned with a lot of other folks in our community and telling everyone they need to come to Thompson and take this class. It has changed all of our lives, and it has a wonderful impact for our whole community. We want to thank you all that help support Thompson. It feels like we are all part of the Thompson family, and together we are changing lives. And I really, truly want to thank y'all.
what stands out the most is the commitment and the experience and the knowledge of our staff. They care so much for these children and these families and work really hard to be part of the process of healing for them.
I'm really hoping that people heard that there's more to Thompson than what they've heard in the past. So much of what we do is behind the scenes, and we're so grateful for the Greer Heights families that were willing to open their hearts and their lives to everyone. And I think they did a phenomenal job. So it's really important that people see that our prevention work is just as important as our intervention work.
The highlight for me of the luncheon was really that we got to see the effect of what helping families looks like. I hope that the message got across that it's really all about helping the families. And with doing that, you're not just helping the family, you really are building community. So it really is about the health and well-being of the community. And I'm very, very happy that I'm able to contribute in that process.
I guess, as always, it's a feeling of just a great group of people doing a great thing. I had that thing again watching the videos. I know some of the families that were on there, so I know that what they're saying is true, what the experience they have is true. I've seen it firsthand, so it just reinforces the fact of what they're doing here is such a good thing.
I'm involved with Thompson because I'm a parent myself, and I know it's a really hard job being a parent, and I want to be supportive of other families in the community and around the Carolinas.
Over the years, the numbers of attendees have grown, the number of dollars raised has grown steadily, and I think just the community support, people are more aware, and every year there's a different focus, such as foster care. One year, this year, the focus is on the new facility on Wendover in the Greer Heights community, and it just gives people a good picture of the breadth of what Thompson does.
I've been involved with Thompson for quite a number of years, just recently on the board for the last 3 years, but I'm really proud of the work that Thompson does. I'm proud to be involved with it. The experience has been extremely rewarding, and but I think what people also need to do is stop by one of the Thompson locations, see it in action. It's here in Charlotte. It's a thing you can be involved with that's not halfway around the world, and we're doing our work right here where it needs to happen, and I'm just real pleased to be involved.
I have been in the community for years, in the mental health community, and as I got older, I wanted to give back. Thompson's is the organization that I chose, and I chose them for a reason. I know who leads this. I know the leaders. I know where they come from and where that their mission is in their heart. And as I started to meet the board members, I realized that it's in all of their hearts, and they lead by their passion for taking care of children and families. They were it. So what I gained from today is really just, it substantiates what I've always believed. I brought 3 tables of people today for the very reason that I wanted to place Thompson on a pedestal and share what I feel about them and share it with others.
What I do know is that Thompson holds tightly to its mission, called to serve through healing, teaching, worship, and play. And we hold tightly to the Josephs and the Malachis that come into our care. But we can't do it alone. We need you to help us. And so won't you take our hand today? Won't you help us hold on to that mission